In a shocking turn of events, Perry Stone has made a huge announcement that could spell the end of Joni Lamb's career. After years of speculation and hidden truths, Stone has exposed disturbing details that raise serious questions about Lamb's role behind the scenes. Once a respected figure in the Christian ministry world, Lamb now finds herself at the center of a controversy that could unravel everything she's built. Stay tuned as we break down the shocking revelations and what this means for her future. Rumors surrounding Perry Stone. Exposé on Joni Lamb. When Perry Stone's exposé on Joni Lamb hit the public eye, it sent ripples through the Christian ministry world. For years, whispers had circulated about Lamb's role behind the scenes at Daystar Television Network, but no one had ever dared to speak out about what might be really going on. That is, until Stone's bold statement shattered the silence and dragged everything into the open. There were rumors of Lamb using her powerful position to pull strings and manipulate situations for her personal gain, and it seemed like every industry insider had their own theory about what she might have been involved in. Some believed Lamb had been playing a hidden hand in influencing other ministers, using her financial support to get them to push her agenda. The thought of a powerful woman controlling the direction of Christian television, particularly with financial leverage, struck many as unsettling. There was even talk that she had orchestrated deals to silence potential whistleblowers, figures in the ministry who might have threatened to expose what was happening behind closed doors. As the rumors continued to swirl, some people close to the network began to claim that Lamb had used her influence to alter programming decisions to suit her business interests. People started speculating about the kinds of deals she might have struck with other high-profile ministers to maintain control of Daystar, with some even suggesting that she was involved in behind-the-scenes financial dealings that benefited her personally. The idea of Lamb being a puppet master, pulling the strings of an empire built on faith, seemed hard to ignore as more and more stories trickled out. Some even began to wonder how far her influence stretched. Could it have extended beyond just Daystar and affected other ministries as well? The public had always seen Lamb as the quiet, supportive co-founder of Daystar. But now, with Stone's accusations, many started to question whether there was more to the story. Were these just idle rumors, or was there truth hidden beneath the surface? The floodgates of gossip had been opened, and once Perry Stone made his announcement, many who had kept their thoughts to themselves started to speak out. Long-standing industry insiders, some of whom had worked with Lamb or Daystar for years, started telling stories of strange occurrences and sudden, unexplained changes in the network's leadership. These insiders pointed to Lamb's rising influence, asking how a woman without a background in broadcasting or ministry had suddenly come to have so much power in Christian media. With Stone's exposé, the whispers grew into a full-blown conversation, and the once invisible threads of influence that Lamb might have wielded came to the surface. The rumors went from being wild speculation to something that seemed much more plausible as the pieces began to fall into place.
Make a statement up front as we talk about 2025 and the word that the Lord gave us. People will send us text messages sometimes personally, or they'll send us an email to the office because they know that the Lord has helped me over the past 30 years to see things before they ever happen.
Here goes at Perry Stone, defending Daystar again. He's now posting dreams about a lake filled with fish and souls where evil, gossiping people are stopping fishermen, ministers from fulfilling their calling. Perry, why don't you post the dream you claim you had? Yes, I heard from more than one close source about a year ago where you saw at Daystar Joni and Rachel Lamb Brown drowning in a lake. While Joni was yelling, I didn't know this was going to happen. Wow. Is that true, Perry Stone? Did you have a dream with Joni and Rachel drowning in a lake?
Perry Stone's shocking statement and career impact. When Perry Stone made his shocking statement about Joni Lamb, the Christian television world was rocked. Stone, known for his strong prophetic messages and for being a prominent figure in the world of ministry, had always been someone whose words carried weight. But this time, it wasn't a message of hope or a call to faith. It was a bold accusation that would unravel everything Lamb had spent years building. The moment Stone made his public declaration, the atmosphere shifted. It wasn't just another controversy in the religious world, it was a direct challenge to everything Joni Lamb had represented. For years, Joni Lamb had been seen as the quiet, behind-the-scenes force at Daystar Television Network, co-founding the station alongside her husband Marcus Lamb. Her influence in the Christian media world was undeniable, and Daystar had become a global presence in broadcasting, reaching millions of viewers with its message. Lamb had a reputation for being professional, poised, and a trusted figure among her colleagues. But according to Perry Stone, there was more to her role than what met the eye. Stone accused Lamb of using her financial and influential power to manipulate key figures in the ministry world to further her own agenda. He claimed that through Daystar's success, Lamb had been able to financially back certain ministries and in return had received support in shaping prophetic messages that aligned with her vision for the network. The accusations were deeply personal for many who knew Lamb, including Stone himself. According to his statement, Lamb's influence over him and other prominent ministers was not just about business, but about using spiritual power as leverage. Stone revealed that Lamb had played a role in shaping the direction of his own prophetic ministry, subtly encouraging him to align his messages with her vision, all while leveraging Daystar's reach to amplify those messages. He described how her financial backing had given her more than just a seat at the table. It had given her a significant influence in the messages being shared with millions of viewers around the world. This was not just about money, Stone explained. It was about control. Stone, who had always been open about his own challenges and mistakes in ministry, said he could no longer remain silent about the undue influence he believed Lamb held over others in the Christian television space. As the world reacted to Stone's statement, the consequences for Joni Lamb were swift and severe. Her career, which had once been built on a foundation of trust and influence, now hung by a thread. Daystar, which had been the flagship of her career and a symbol of her success, was suddenly under scrutiny. What had once been seen as an exemplary example of Christian broadcasting now appeared tainted by allegations of manipulation and deceit. Her role in Daystar's operations and programming came into question, and many began to wonder whether Lamb had been more interested in controlling the narrative of Christian media than spreading the gospel. The public reaction to Stone's accusations was one of shock, disbelief, and for many, deep disappointment. Lamb had always been portrayed as a supportive, strong woman in ministry, a co-founder who worked tirelessly to build Daystar alongside her husband. But now, with Stone's bold statements, many began to wonder if she had been playing a far more dominant role than anyone had previously thought. The impact on Lamb's career was immediate and far-reaching. Within days of Stone's expose, reports of decreased viewership on Daystar began to surface. Many former supporters of the network felt betrayed, especially those who had followed Daystar for years, believing in the network's message of hope, faith, and Christian values. Now, the idea that the ministry might have been a front for personal gain made many feel as if their trust had been exploited. The accusations led to a dramatic shift in how Lamb was viewed by the public and by the Christian community. What had once been seen as a beacon of Christian television now felt tainted by scandal. People began questioning the integrity of Daystar's programming, wondering whether the messages they had been receiving for years were truly divinely inspired or simply a means of building a media empire. As the investigation into the allegations continued, Lamb faced mounting pressure to respond. The media, which had long been supportive of her and her family, now turned critical. Reports that had once praised Daystar for its reach and influence now questioned the network's practices and the true motivations behind its success. While Lamb had always been seen as a co-founder, her position of influence within the network became more and more suspect as new information came to light. Her response, or lack thereof, only fueled the flames of speculation. Many people expected Lamb to publicly address the allegations, but she remained silent, and this silence spoke volumes. The media and the public were left to speculate about her role in the scandal and whether she would be held accountable for the way Daystar had been run. One of the most damaging aspects of Stone's statement was the way it cast doubt on Lamb's true motivations. Critics of Lamb began to suggest that she had used her position not just to support Christian media, but to build a financial empire at the expense of the very people she had promised to serve. Some accused her of manipulating spiritual messages for financial gain, positioning Daystar as a business venture rather than a ministry. The very nature of Christian broadcasting, which is supposed to be about spreading the gospel and serving the spiritual needs of viewers, had now been called into question. The impact of Stone's revelations on Lamb's career was further compounded by the increasing number of former supporters who distanced themselves from Daystar. The network, once a symbol of success in Christian media, now found itself losing credibility in the eyes of the public. Many of Lamb's closest allies, including other ministers and television personalities, were forced to publicly distance themselves from her. The fallout was widespread, with several prominent figures in Christian media voicing their concerns about the direction Daystar had taken under Lamb's leadership. The accusations of manipulation and undue influence had shaken the foundation of the Christian media world. It wasn't just about one woman's role in a television network. It was about the ethics of Christian broadcasting and whether the financial interests had overtaken the spiritual mission of the ministry. Daystar's future was now uncertain, and the network found itself grappling with the challenge of restoring its tarnished image. For Lamb, the damage to her career was severe. Once hailed as a pioneering figure in Christian broadcasting, she was now fighting to salvage what remained of her reputation. The personal and professional toll of Stone's statements was undeniable. The network she had built with her husband was in jeopardy, and the future of Daystar was uncertain. Many in the Christian community had trusted Lamb, but now they were left questioning whether she had been true to her calling or had been more interested in using her influence to build her own empire. Stone's shocking statement marked the beginning of a new chapter in Lamb's career, one that would be defined by scandal and public backlash. The public reaction to Stone's revelations was a mixture of anger, disappointment, and confusion. People who had supported Lamb for years now found themselves questioning everything they had been told. The fallout from this scandal was not limited to Lamb alone. It cast a shadow over the entire Christian television industry. The once untouchable world of televangelism was now being scrutinized like never before. And for Joni Lamb, the impact of Perry Stone's shocking statement would forever alter the course of her career. The career she had built on trust and influence had now been thrown into turmoil, and the road ahead would be a difficult one as she faced the repercussions of the scandal that had forever changed her legacy.
At your mother's request, we called you back in here so John could talk to you. And we'd give you 24 hours from the time we signed this. That's roughly 2:30 to 3 o'clock tomorrow. If you can sign that, come back in to Arnold's office, sign the piece of paper, okay? Read it, do you comfortable with it, and then sign the piece of paper tomorrow. You have until basically, I say 3 o'clock. That's 24 hours from the time it was signed. If you do not do that, then you are removing yourself from the board and removing yourself from your vice president position, and you are then an employee. You're still an employee. That's where we are. Now, technically, we had to pass a motion to do that because technically you were gone. You had already removed yourself from the board.
You dismissed me.
Well, because you did not do it. Technically, you removed yourself from the board.
I didn't remove myself.
You removed
you
yourself
dismissed
from
me.
vice president. At her request, we passed a motion to give you 24 hours to reconsider. Before you get your letter from Daystar.
The gossip and speculation around Joni Lamb. The gossip and speculation surrounding Joni Lamb have intensified to new levels ever since Perry Stone's shocking accusations shook the Christian media world. For years, Lamb had been a respected figure in the Christian broadcasting world, co-founding Daystar Television Network with her husband Marcus Lamb. Daystar quickly became a household name, a beacon of Christian programming that reached millions. Lamb's image as a dedicated woman of faith, a co-founder and co-leader of the network, was built on years of service, public appearances, and religious teachings. However, the foundation of her career began to crumble when Perry Stone, a prominent preacher, made his explosive statement that linked her to the manipulation of prophetic messages, financial mismanagement, and even questioned her integrity in shaping Daystar's programming. Before Stone's expose, there had been whispers about Lamb's influence behind the scenes at Daystar. People wondered how someone with no formal background in media or broadcasting had risen to such a powerful position within a major television network. As rumors circulated, some suggested that Lamb was more than just a passive figure, playing a key role in controlling the network's direction, sometimes manipulating its messages to serve her personal interests. Critics had long suspected that she might have used her financial power to shape the way Daystar was run. Some even said that her personal ambitions and control over Daystar's business dealings had affected its core mission, leading many to question the true motives behind the network's success. As Stone's accusations went public, these whispers quickly turned into full-blown speculation. People who had once admired Lamb for her role in the Christian television community now started to re-examine her career through a more cynical lens. The gossip surrounding her quickly spiraled. Theories about her manipulation of other ministry within the ministry world took hold, Some people began to wonder if Lamb had been using her power to secure financial deals with high-profile figures, even pressuring them to promote messages that were more aligned with her financial and personal goals than with the spiritual needs of the audience. The question that kept coming up was simple but critical. Had she been using Daystar as a vehicle for her own agenda rather than as a ministry to spread the gospel? One of the more disturbing rumors that started to circulate was the suggestion that Lamb had been manipulating ministers like Perry Stone to push specific agendas that would benefit Daystar's bottom line. There were claims that Stone, who had a massive following for his prophetic teachings, might have been financially supported by Lamb in exchange for aligning his prophecies with Daystar's programming needs. The rumors suggested that Lamb was using her control over Daystar's resources to subtly influence how ministries and their messages were portrayed. This wasn't just about financial support. It was about using power to shape a narrative that served her interests, critics said. Beyond the media world, there were also whispers about Lamb's personal life. Some speculated that Lamb had become too involved in the business side of Daystar, and that her personal relationships with key figures within the ministry had become more transactional. This raised questions about her motivations. Was she using her role in the ministry to gain power and influence, or was she genuinely committed to spreading faith and supporting her husband's vision for the network? The gossip turned darker when some insiders suggested that Lamb had engaged in manipulative behavior, even comparing her actions to the biblical story of Jezebel. In this narrative, a powerful woman uses her influence over men to control situations, often at the expense of others. While these comparisons remained unproven, they added fuel to the fire, making it easy for people to believe that Lamb had used her position to manipulate both the ministry and the media to further her own agenda. The speculation didn't stop with just the manipulation of prophetic messages. There were also rumors about Lamb's growing distance from the spiritual mission of Daystar. Many critics believed that her focus on business and financial growth had distracted her from the ministry's true purpose, to serve God and spread the gospel. The once faith-driven mission of Daystar seemed, to some, to have been overshadowed by a desire for personal gain and control. This led to even more gossip. People began questioning whether Daystar had been operating as a true ministry or if it had merely been a business masquerading as a faith-based network. Insiders began to suggest that Lamb's influence over Daystar had been key to turning the network into a profit-driven empire rather than focusing on the core values of faith and spirituality. Some people even wondered if Lamb had ever truly been committed to the mission of Daystar, or if she had always been more interested in building her own empire of influence. The more people spoke about her role at Daystar, the more the speculation intensified. There was also the growing sense that Lamb had become somewhat of an enigma. On the outside, she appeared to be a gracious and humble leader, someone who worked alongside her husband to create something meaningful. But the rumors painted a different picture. A woman who had manipulated situations and people to further her own interests. This discrepancy between her public persona and the rumors surrounding her behind closed doors led to a significant loss of trust among her followers. People who had once viewed Lamb as a figure of stability in the Christian broadcasting world now found themselves questioning her authenticity and integrity. As the media picked up on Perry Stone's revelations, the gossip about Lamb began to spread like wildfire. It was no longer just the insiders or critics who were talking. Everyday people who had watched Daystar for years began to engage in the conversation. Social media buzzed with speculation, and news outlets picked up the story, providing a platform for both supporters and critics to share their views. The once glowing reputation of Joni Lamb now seemed to hang in the balance, as her every action was examined under a microscope. No longer was she just the co-founder of Daystar. She was now at the center of a scandal that would redefine her legacy in the public eye. The gossip also touched on the future of Daystar itself. With Lamb's role being called into question, many began to wonder if Daystar could survive without her influence. Would the network continue its programming under new leadership, or would it crumble under the weight of the accusations? Speculation about the future of Daystar grew, with some people wondering if it was time for a change in direction, both in terms of leadership and in how the network conducted its business. The rumors swirled. Would Lamb step down, or would she try to fight back against the accusations? As the gossip around Joni Lamb's role in Daystar continued to spread, it became clear that her career, once seemingly unshakable, was now at a crossroads. The accusations and the speculation surrounding her actions, both professionally and personally, had cast a dark shadow over her future. Whether these rumors would prove to be true or not, the damage to her reputation was undeniable. The gossip had already taken its toll on her, and the public was left to wonder whether the woman they had once admired would be able to rebuild her image, or if this was the beginning of the end for her career.